means we gotta finish the answer quick and move to the next
Okay.
question.
Done. I keep talking. So I know that.
Thank you. Welcome to yet another episode of supportF&B. Today, everybody loves chocolates. I am sure there will be not a single person who would not say, I don't like chocolates. So, why we are talking about chocolates? Yes. Today on Giggles road number 45, our new address for gourmet chocolates, SHUCHI. So this has been started by a woman entrepreneur, Aparna Garu. And let's talk to her to know more about the brand SHUCHI and the chocolates they offer to us. Let's go. Namaskar Aparna Garu. Ela unnaru?
నేను బాగున్నానండి. మీరు ఎలా ఉన్నారు?
Fantastic. So it is all tough times for everybody,
Absolutely.
but life has to go on. So coming to the story behind SHUCHI.
Right.
So can you give us a small insight about how this journey began?
Absolutely. This started off, I think, it's been more than a decade now since we thought of this name. And so it is a Sanskrit name. It is SHUCHI. And you'll hear a lot of people saying ZUCI and all that. So SHUCHI, nothing but meaning pure.
Even I was like that when I saw it, ZUCI. Because I heard a couple of names, so thought it is ZUCI.
Right.
So after meeting you, understood it is SHUCHI, the Sanskrit
SHUCHI.
word.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So why chocolates?
Why chocolates? I think that is something that from a very young age, it's always intriguing because I've always had all these international chocolates because of uncles and aunts traveling, cousins traveling. So the quality of chocolate always used to be different from the regular chocolate that we always got in Hyderabad or in India. A 5-star in dairy milk is something that we've grown up on, literally. And there would be a huge difference, but it was always enjoying chocolate. And this started off as something with, when my son was born and I was at home and I wanted to be around with him. And I took that break from work. So I said, so there was a lady who was teaching about chocolate. And I went for a course. It is the typical hobby classes, 25 chocolates in one day. I was like, is it possible at all? And when I went and then I said, oh, is it so simple? And I have this habit of always coming back and to read up about it, or before going I read up. But because this lady was just there and I said, okay, just a neighbor who's teaching something, and when I came back I started to read about chocolate. And when I started to read is when I got to know the difference between chocolate and compound. So most of them that were teaching about 25 chocolates a day, it was all about compound.
Agree.
And that's the day I said, if I can't give this to my son, I will never be able to give anything like that to anyone. So I am not going to touch compound, but I'm going to make chocolate.
Wonderful.
And
So
that's when the journey started off in understanding chocolate.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So from understanding to mastering, where did how did that journey
So that journey started off with me reading up, and then I said I want to go for a course. And it just started with, one course. So I went to the Chocolate Academy, which is run by Callebaut, a Belgium-based company, and one of the oldest in the world, #1. And so
Where is this?
this started in Mumbai.
Okay.
They had a branch. I wanted to go to the US, and they had these courses, small courses for 2 days. So it was like for 2 days going to the US didn't make sense at all, other than I wanted to see my brother who lives there. And there were a number of things. So, but at that time, because I had a toddler, and I couldn't, just leave him like that, though I had a lot of support. But that is something that I started to update myself, and I got to learn a lot more things as I was doing the course and reading up as much. Come back, practice it, because it's not easy to deal with chocolate, the weather, the temperature, and everything. So that went on, and then I traveled to the US, and I went to the academy in Chicago. Then when I traveled to Belgium, I went to the academy in Wies. That's like the hub of it. So I was learning from all the master chefs, and who are like legends in chocolates that you would crave to do.
Wow,
And that went on for more than 10 years. And so my husband would say, you have a very expensive hobby. So when is it going to come to reality? We have to come to something in it. And it used to be a lot of friends and family that I used to give it at. And they would sometimes place an order. And with the order, equally, I would give them a sample. So it kind of balanced it out when giving a sample, but everybody just came back and said, we loved it. So that's the thing, that it started off that way.
So your family and the friends are the people who encouraged you to come forward to set up this ZUCI?
Absolutely. Without their support, I don't think it would have been possible. And I think Chaitanya and I together had dreamt about it, that we will start something like this, because they have encouraged me in every single thing that I have done. So Chaitanya's grandmom would say, my son's name is Nikhil. You can leave him and you do what you want to. But I think that's a great grandmom who would love to have a great grandchild and, taking care. So I think that was a blessing.
You're blessed to have a very supportive family.
Absolutely.
From your grandmother to your mother-in-law and your husband and kid.
My parents as well used to come when I used to have this order, and I would, because I'd work in the night, and throughout I listened to music.
So you're nocturnal.
So just listen, and my father and mom would come to help me in packaging. Grandmom would help me in packaging. So it was a beautiful thing to sit together to do that. So that is something I really enjoyed. Yeah.
Wonderful. Aparna garu, tell me about how did you arrive at ZUCI to set up in our own Hyderabad? And I also know that you are our Hyderabadi girl.
Absolutely.
And it is a very proud moment to have our own homegrown chocolate brand. So how did you try to figure out that you wanted to set it up in Hyderabad? You know that, right? Chocolate is everybody's favorite.
Right.
But Hyderabad has not grown up to a level of having a gourmet chocolate.
Absolutely.
Because we still survive on dairy milks and our silk chocolates and
Right.
5 stars.
Absolutely.
So how did that transform, and how did you identify to put it at this place?
One, I think it's been a long time for me to start off with this. Kept pending, procrastinating it. Now I have a son who is now 14 and in his teenage, and who knows I don't want the mommy around. I got that as well as an answer. And I think it was high time for me to start doing what I have learned. And it's always been there that, I wanted to have a store, and this is something that we aspired for a very long time. And this was the right time, right location that we were looking for, in the right area, I should say that. And our mindset was fresh, that Hyderabad needs something like this, and with a palate where, there's no compromise. I got my ABCDs really correct, so I'm not going to change it at all. So I think that was very, very clear. That's how SHUCHI started off, with no compromise at all.
Fantastic. Aparna garu, can you take us through the entire process of chocolate from a bean to bar?
Right.
The several ways and means for a common man like me to understand how a chocolate is made.
Absolutely.
Because we all relate ourselves with dairy milks and other chocolates
Yes.
which are available in the market. We wanted to know more about the gourmet chocolates that you are known to.
Right.
So can you take us through this?
So what we do is we source the cocoa beans or the cacao beans from various parts of the world, also from India as well. So the beans looks very similar to how it looks like coffee, but these are flat or they look like almonds. And the process goes, it's a very delicate process, especially when it's being dried and when it's being roasted. So we have the drying process. Once the beans are dried and then you kind of segregate according to the size and the quality, we get to know that. And the roasting plays a very, very important role. Fermentation, roasting, winnowing it, and conching. So that's where we find with the roasting also the bitter note, how it's being roasted, the taste of it, it matters huge. So there are different notes and flavors to it. So from different regions, you'll have different flavors coming up or the notes coming up. You will have flowery, you will have woody, you will have spice. So there are different flavors and that becomes a single origin chocolate.
Right.
And then when the nibs, the cocoa nibs, that is the most important part of the chocolate. But when that's crushed, and then you get the cocoa mass, and there has to be at least 32 to 38% of cocoa butter in your chocolate to be called chocolate. Otherwise, it's not chocolate. And
Agreed.
in the name of chocolate, we've been eating a lot of other things. But cocoa butter is the main ingredient for a chocolate. So that process, and then when it's blended with cocoa powder, emulsifiers, and soy lecithin and all that, it comes out in slabs. And then we melt it, we temper it. Tempering is like you have to really take care of chocolate. You just can't treat it bad. So
There's a lot of love that has to go in.
absolutely. If you're in a bad mood, the chocolate is not going to. It's like the chocolate has to talk to you. You can't shout at it because then if you shout at it and if you're not going to treat it well, it's not going to sit. So it's a very, very delicate thing that how you behave with it, that's how it's going to respond to you. And then because you get it to a particular temperature, then you bring it down. And then you kind of temper is a process of mixing up with chocolate to get to a particular temperature. And then only will it be molded when you try to mold. And then that's how our bean to bar kind of goes on.
Aparna garu, during a chocolate making session, you were
Right.
talking about your French institute where you have done the course. Can you give a small information about it?
Yeah, so I did my diploma in chocolate and confectionery from the Ecole school, Alain Ducasse from France, in Issajou. That's where I did a whole course. Other than my experience that I've had with Chocolate Academy in Mumbai, in Chicago, as well as Wies in Belgium. So it's been a long journey with chocolate, yes.
A sinfully delicious journey.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great. So apart from these chocolates, you also offer cafe foods, right?
Right.
So what kind of
So we have a continental menu and a little bit of touch of Indian as well in it. So we have sandwiches, we have wraps, we have pasta, we have gnocchi, which is again in-house. That is made. It's not something that is ready-made. Also, and the sauces, everything that is all in-house that we make here.
so you have a bit of fusion.
Right, absolutely.
Wonderful. And I'm sure people would love to have your fusion foods.
Absolutely, and the coffees as well.
Wow.
Coffees, mocktails, and the best that has been selling, and people have been coming for over and over again, is a hot chocolate.
Awesome. So definitely I'm going to have your hot chocolate before I leave.
Absolutely, it is a must. Yes.
Super. Thank you so much, Aparna garu. It was
Thank you.
wonderful knowing about in and out about chocolates. And thanks for your time and your patience.
Thank you so much, Sankalp, for coming here and taking out your time to spend with us and going through all our products. It's really wonderful having you.
It's my pleasure.
My
Thank you so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He wanted you to walk to the rest.
I actually wanted to do that.
So I think I gave a man and he wanted to do this.
Yeah, even I was about to do it.